everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Lead. In the Lead, as you know, presents extraordinary leaders who speak about their leadership journeys to be able to inspire you. This episode presents one more inspiring personality. I am delighted to be able to present to you Pankajam Sridevi. Pankajam Sridevi is the Managing Director of Commonwealth Bank of Australia in India. She has over 32 years of rich experience in diverse segments ranging from manufacturing to technology to banking domains. Pankajam is passionate about building a learning and innovative organization through continual improvement and transformation, where employees build their careers and provide exemplary customer service. Pankajam has spearheaded the implementation of robotic process automation in the banking sector from 2015. She was also instrumental in implementing machine learning into critical processes within the banking industry. Pankajam is passionate about diversity and inclusion in the workplace and keen to get more women, persons with disability, and LGBTQ persons in the workplace. A winner of many awards herself, Pankajam has been conferred with prestigious honors such as BPM Achiever in Global India Award for delivering business impact through technology transformation, NCP Helen Keller Award for making a difference to communities, and she has also recently won the Woman CEO of the Year from GISR Foundation in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Pankajam Sridevi, Managing Director of Commonwealth Bank of Australia in India.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction.
All right, lovely. So, Pankajam, first of all, thank you for agreeing to speak to us. As you know, we have a list of questions we want to be able to ask you. But first of all, I'm going to start at the start by saying, how are you doing today, and are you excited to be on the show?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I think it's a privilege. I'm very excited to be on the show, especially, after getting to know all the great things that you have done in your career and your intent to educate everyone on leadership. That's very noble and very apt for current world. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, Pankajam. Pankajam, I'm going to start at the start. You have an absolutely fascinating aspect to your own journey where you've been at the vanguard of robotics process automation, through your career, across functions, across geographies to improve processes and to be able to basically increase and make automation really innovative within organizations. So tell us a bit about that. That is very, very fascinating. And I know you've spoken about it before, but we absolutely want to start the show by talking about digital leadership and why digital leadership ought to be at the vanguard of anyone who wants to lead in the 21st century.
So, 9-10 years back, when there is a volume increase that any organization has to manage by virtue of, say, anything that you do at the customer end, so you're doing a campaign and you get more volumes from customers, more business from customers. And the only way to manage that was to add more people. And when you add freshers to do a job in banking, especially, what happens is that it's like stepping into snow, it melts. Right. So I was looking at what is the other way of managing volume flexibility or managing volume variability. Therefore, automation is really a business imperative. Today, if you look at it, so we started with robotics process automation and then went into machine learning, artificial intelligence, etc., with the sole purpose of improving customer service. That's why I said it's a business imperative. Today, if you look at it, there's so much of progress in the technology area that digitization, end-to-end digitization is the norm. Trillions of dollars are spent across the world for automating processes end-to-end from the time that customer wants to do banking or wants to do any activity with a vendor or a supplier or a partner. We want digitization. It makes life very easy for customer. It makes, data safe for customer. So it's all based on what the customer wants. And it also reduces the overall cost in an organization. So
Right.
there's only positive side to digitization, and there's only positive side to automation. And the fear that that people will lose jobs earlier is like totally wiped out now, because people will find ways to reskill and find other jobs. So I think there's only positive side to digitization, and therefore as a leader, I'm embracing technology. We cannot live without technology, and therefore I think it's important to embrace and lead it, so that the organizations that are formed in India can really add value to the parent organization, and can really be an asset to the organization that has really formed this group in India. That has been my motivation to go after automation and digitization.
Lovely. So well said. I'm going to move to another area of passion for yourself. You are a very active evangelist for diversity and inclusion. You speak very actively around women, and since that's basically our low-hanging fruit on diversity and inclusion, which is the gender diversity part, you work in the space. You speak around mindsets that women must develop to be able to succeed in their careers. Tell us some more about your evangelism around diversity.
So I think, my basic principle is that any organization must replicate the community that is there outside, where the
Right.
organization is located. So a
Right.
community does not have only men. It has women, it has persons with disability, it has
Yes.
LGBT persons, it has veterans, returning moms. There is a lot of diversity in the community. An
Right.
organization is successful only if you get the same diversity in the inside the group, because that's what brings different thoughts, different innovation objectives. A lot of things happen in the organization. Now, as you said, gender diversity is spoken about for many years now, because we have never got close to getting anywhere near male and female being at equal, or 10% that females are less in an organization. That's really a dream, far-fetched dream. And the reason why I'm very, very passionate about it is because women are no less than men in doing any job that is needed to be done. And that's about being include. It's called as includability, where you
Yes.
give a level playing field for everybody. And that's
Yes.
exactly, I'm not just evangelizing, I'm making sure that the organization where I am working, we get gender parity. And it's very important for the success of the organization. And it is being really fair to women and men and other communities. It's just being fair, and it's getting the best out of everyone. So there is no difficulty in getting women. It's very easy to get more male candidates because they're easily available in the market, but women are available too. So it's the effort that is needed. If we do lip service, it doesn't happen. We cannot have any kind of reservation because we want the best in the organization. So it's neither reservation nor any other activity that we do. It's being conscious to find the women who can fit the job, and that's possible. That's definitely possible. And I would urge leaders, when they talk about diversity, to make sure what is the diversity on their table. It should start from there. It should start from leadership, having
Yes.
50-50 male and female leaders on their table. I do have that, so I can proudly say that now. But
Yes.
once we start that, then the equation in the organization changes. I think diversity is very important for the success of the organization. It's a business imperative, and we are giving a level playing field, which is absolutely critical for the success of the community. Hence, I'm very, very passionate about it.
Yes, and it just shines through in the way in which you've even responded to this question, Pankajam, I must say. In fact, I read somewhere that you accounted for almost 70% of the targeted numbers within the organization on both women as well as specially abled in your previous assignment. Tell us a bit about that, which is both, especially the specially abled part, because while gender is still something that most organizations are open to, several organizations that appear committed to this agenda don't know where to start on being able to find specially able people. there's generally a perception that there is a supply challenge in terms of being able to find specially able people. So tell me how the bank's gone around doing this. I know you've done this very actively also in your previous assignments. So tell us a bit about integrating specially abled candidates, employees into the organization.
So when we look at persons with disability, we always look at their disability and not
Mm.
their ability. But honestly, everybody is good at something, and every one of us has a disability. If you look at it, I have a
Yeah,
disability. I cannot read without my glasses. That
yeah,
doesn't mean I will not become a managing director. I find a way to equalize or neutralize that.
yeah.
That's the same thing. That's the kind of environment we have to provide persons with disability. We have to find them. There is no doubt we have to find them. The supply is there, but we have to match it to the demand. We have to be very different with them, give them segregated treatment from the time we start interviewing. I can give you an example of my own biases. There are a lot of biases in the society for persons with disability. When I saw somebody who was with calipers, no hands, but they have calipers, the first question that came to my mind is, can they type as fast as others? But the so-called others with both hands were typing less speed than him. So it's a
Yeah.
bias. Like that, we have a lot of biases. If we keep aside the bias and interview them or test them for their abilities, I'm sure we can get persons with disability into our organization. And we have to sensitize the team around us, because everybody needs to understand what the person with disability can do and include them into the organization. Again, it's about giving equal opportunities. And as I said, my leadership philosophy is to build the community outside in the organization. Therefore, we need persons with disability, and they bring resilience into the organization. What I have seen is, to live, they need so much of resilience, that resilience, they bring it to the work also. So I'm very
Okay.
proud of hiring persons with disability and LGBT persons, and leaders like Shanti of Enable India and Raja of Vishesh has really helped me to remove my biases. Not that I don't have them now; it comes occasionally, because we continually learn to get rid of biases. And once we learn that from the experts, I think it's very easy to include them in the organization. And I'm
Right.
very proud of such achievements in my career, and also in the organizations where I worked. It's not just me, it's a group of people around me who supports me in these requirements that we have for the society.
Thank you. Thank you for that response. It's just everything you said right now was just so inspiring. And I'm hoping that those who are pursuing these agendas inside their own organizations are taking copious notes on all the wonderful things that you just said in your response right now. I want to move this conversation, Pankajam, to another area of passion for yourself, which is to be able to grow, home grow leaders as compared to hiring leaders from outside. So tell us about this. This is often a dilemma within organizations, and a lot of leaders struggle with this, which is, especially to, when you've grown, when you've seen people in junior positions within the organization, to sometimes not take them very seriously as you're going along, or even as the strategic agendas around the organization change, to sometimes find yourself out of depth or out of gravitas in terms of the quality of leaders that you've bred inside the organization. So tell me some more on this philosophy, because it's ever so important, especially given the way in which we are poised in disruptive times.
So when we hire talent, we look at their potential. More than
Yeah.
the performance, we look at the potential. And we hire people for future potential. And what do we tell our candidates? We'll show them a career path in the organization. And why I am so passionate about homegrown leaders is because we are just meeting the expectations that we set on the people, by telling them, here is a career path. This is an organization that is growing. You will grow along with the organization. And it's just meeting that expectations, nothing more than that. And I also think that we have potential assessment, and we say that you have depth potential. Now you have to go broader, and we coach them to take broader, get to broader potential. And then we put them in succession plan and say, you're in my succession. And when I do all that, it's only right that we hire people less from outside, but have more homegrown leaders. That doesn't mean that we will not hire anybody from the market. We may need an external view that needs to come in, or new blood that needs to come in. Then we have to go and hire leaders from outside. But I've seen recently in very big companies that this is really not working also. It's a risk for the organization and risk for the person who's joining us when they come in senior leadership. And it also depends on the way the organization is building. So if you look at CBA, every leader is new because we are building an organization. So it depends on the positioning of the organization, the number of years the organization is in, etc., to decide on that. However, the junior resources that we hire, or the junior talent that we hire, I firmly believe that we have to grow their career and give them bigger roles and hand it over to them when you leave and when you take another opportunity. I think that is the primary responsibility of a leader. And that is the legacy that I would like to leave. And that's the legacy I have left in earlier organizations. And I think
Lovely.
that is the right perspective.
Super. I want to take this forward into talking about your own formative years professionally, Pankajam. I think there's going to be a treasure trove to learn from in that space. So tell us a bit about your own coaching moments, times when you were coached, you were mentored. What from there do you still hold close to heart? Is there a story? Are there stories that you can share with our viewers on your own growing years professionally and coaching moments, times when you got coached, times when you got mentored?
See, I must tell you that, I moved from manufacturing to technology. And that was a big move. I was totally not aware of what happens in a technology organization, that you'll be on bench and then you have to be interviewed by a customer. That was unheard of in manufacturing. And I moved into technology and I suddenly realized that the entire environment is different. I could have given up and gone back to a manufacturing organization, but I thought I've made the decision I have to survive. So I think the first thing that I always have in my mind is bring the best out of you and don't give up. And also manage ambiguity. All through my career, that's what I've done. I have taken ambiguous jobs. It really excites me. A job that is very straightforward and you just come and do it every day and it is very monotonous, that doesn't excite me. So I search for ambiguity in jobs and I try to solve it, and I've always been successful, and that's something that I've always held close to my heart. And the other thing is, many a times I put the organization ahead of me. Sometimes you will think I have to put myself ahead. I have done that. But most of the time, I put the organization ahead of me. And if there is a requirement in the organization, I have taken those roles. And those roles have allowed me to grow. Now, two coaching moments, there are so many coaches that I am indebted to. But one coach that I had a mentor, he told me one thing, it was a he told me one thing is that Pankajam, hire people who are better in potential than you. Have people who are better than you. Don't feel insecure because only then your job is secure. Unless you have good people around you, I can assure you that your job is not secure. I think I've taken it as golden words. And every time I hired someone, I used to benchmark and check whether that person is way ahead of me in a couple of years or even now. That's been one of my philosophy with a mentor. So the next coaching moment that I really remember and hold close to my heart is from Amy,
Yeah.
who coached me for multiple weeks in this organization. And I was telling her that, I'm feeling that I'm not contributing to the organization. That was like 6 months or 7 months after I joined CBA. And she asked me, Pankajam, what is your prerogative for this organization? And I said, I have to hire 1,000 technologists in 12 months. And she said, holy moly, that's a very big job and a very big kind of, opportunity for you, and a big responsibility. And suddenly I realized that I am comparing my earlier job and the responsibilities that I had in a very stable job to the new job that I'm currently signed up to. And I realized that that's not the right way to do it when you're in a new job. So that is another coaching moment. And that one message from Amy is making me carry on and be very happy with what I'm doing and realize that I have a lot to do in this organization.
Lovely. So, Pankajam, I want to take this conversation back to diversity and inclusion and ask you one more time, what should leaders do to be able to move beyond tokenism, beyond lip service, to actually demonstrate serious commitment to diversity and inclusion? I know you do that every day. So, tell us a bit about what you believe leaders must do to be able to seriously demonstrate commitment to this agenda.
So, the top of the house must definitely show the passion for diversity. However, we have to build a group of people who have the same passion. So it's
Right.
like creating groundswell by making everybody understand why inclusion is very important for an organization, especially like us, which is growing. You learn a lot from each other. Again, you learn a lot from replication of the community. And I call these people who are supportive of diversity and inclusion as foxes. It's not a negative connotation, it's a positive connotation. It means a group of people who will go and get things done. Now, we
Lovely.
cannot put a number to it, honestly, but we need a number. We need a tracking. Because without an objective and a goal, you cannot achieve something that is hard to achieve. And we have to start from the recruiting team. It's not just the leadership that is very important to get persons with disability or women into the organization. It must start with the recruitment team. So we have to make it clear to the recruitment team what is our objective. We have to sensitize the hiring team what is the objective, and then we have to really hire women. So there is no reservation for women, but if you look at the numbers and say, okay, I've hired a GM, a male candidate, I have one more GM in the organization, can that be a female candidate? And I'm not, again, I want to reiterate that it is not reservation, but I look for male and female candidates and make sure that there is a strong female candidate and a possibility for a hire. So it's lot of interventions, but I think groundswell is very important and the tone from the top is important.
Right, well said. I'm going to move this in the direction of change and innovation, which is another area that you constantly talk about. And cannot underline change and the ability to manage change and use opportunities for innovation, particularly in these disruptive times. Tell us a little more about leaders who are committed to driving change. What should leaders do to become more innovative? How do you spot opportunities for innovation? Tell us a little more. I'm sure our audiences are going to gain from your immense sort of experience and your very illustrious work in the space of managing change successfully.
I think change is hard. All of us, we like to be people with a fixed mindset persona. So, for example, when I go and sit in my home, when I sit in the drawing room, I always go and sit in one corner. I don't know why, but that's like a fixed mindset persona. I drink from the same cup coffee every day. I feel comfortable. So that's called a fixed mindset persona. But a growth mindset is about learning.
Yeah.
So if we continuously, kind of bring in that learning in an organization and ask people to aspire like irrationally, rational aspiration does not need any change, but irrational aspiration for our customers, irrational aspiration for our organization, irrational aspiration for ourselves, that calls for change. And I think as senior leaders, we have to give the big picture. We have to tell the story of why the change is important, whatever is the change. And then the execution has to be done by the team. We have to listen. We have to listen very carefully. And I call it as listening to learn. If leaders don't listen from the ground on what a change means to them, I think the change will not be successful. And when you leave the organization, the change also leaves with you. In whatever way it is, even deployment of a technology, change needs everyone to buy into it. And the leader to listen to things that they will not feel comfortable to listen. So if somebody tells me automation doesn't work, I won't feel comfortable. But I will listen to them. Why are they saying that? What is the reason for that? And bring them along. If you have too many detractors when you're bringing a change, it will not happen. But detractors will be there, but we want more promoters in our organization. And for that, we have to give the big picture and always hear what is being spoken on the ground. And I think we also have to get involved in the change, like parachuting into what's happening and parachuting back. It is called as the balcony view and the dance floor view. So leaders have to be in the balcony most of the time, but definitely on the dance floor. And I think we also have to recognize people who are readily, susceptible, or they are ready for change. So they are the people. Again, you have to identify people who become promoters very easily, and they will be able to create that chain of promotion. And I think that's the way I've always done big changes in the organizations that I work for.
You're right. So Pankajam, your leadership is very expansive and full of positive influence. Tell us a bit about a failure experience. The time that you failed and what were the lessons learned.
So, in early part of my career, I still remember, I was responsible for some designing aspects, and I made a mistake in the design of a very small sticker onto a product. And because of that sticker, just imagine a sticker going wrong and the entire set of products not being able to ship. I think that mistake I'll never forget, because it impacted the billing of that organization, and it had lot of impact, cascading impact. And what I learned from that is that any oversight by a person who's working in an organization, oversight which could have been avoided, can have cascading effects in the organization.
Right.
So, I try and also the focus that you have to give on everything that you're going to do is not going to be the same. You have to focus on the 20 activities that only you can focus, or only you can add value maximum. The others has to be delegated. And that's why I said that the best leader is one who finds people who are better than them, so that they can delegate and be at peace and do the work that they can absolutely concentrate and do. And that's what I learned from that failure.
But thank you for sharing that. I think that's a very powerful example of failure. Just understanding the ramifications of one small error, and that, kind of you become more quality conscious, you just become more empathetic actually of anything that you're doing and the implication that's going to have on the entire organization. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to move forward to ask you about your leadership philosophies. And I know it sounds like I'm asking you a repeat question because you've almost called out so many leadership philosophies in your responses. If you were to crystallize 2 or 3 key leadership philosophies, what would these be?
I think, I don't know whether to call it philosophy, but I think what I believe in, is be a person first and then a professional. You have to connect with people, and then your professional side will be accepted by everyone. And one of the things to connect to people is to talk about your vulnerabilities and show that you're a vulnerable person. Just because you're on the top of the organization does not mean that you don't have vulnerabilities. You're a human. You have made mistakes. So I always talk about my vulnerabilities. If I feel like crying, I'll cry. It's okay. That's what I am. So being the person you are and showing your vulnerability is one of the principles that always I have. I don't hide my emotions from anybody, especially the team that I work with. The second one is to really grow people in the organization. Today I'm not bothered about my career. I'm bothered about the careers of people who work for me. And I want senior leaders in this organization to bother about me. That's the way I look at it, and that's another principle of mine. And I have spoken in earlier kind of interviews that I believe in being humble when I'm very, very successful and being fearless when I'm making a mistake. I want to own it. I want to say that I've made a mistake, and I want to say that it's okay to make mistakes. And I want to make sure that the organization and the team that is working with me and that I am working with does not repeat that mistake. So, being very brave and fearless when you're facing a situation that is not comfortable for you is another principle of mine.
I think these are lovely and beautiful principles. So I'm just going to try and recap them, for the viewers. You spoke about being authentic, bringing your real self to work and your whole self to work, and to be able to show emotions as you're feeling them. And I'm sure that this evokes so much of trust. I'm sure, with what you're saying, there will be oxytocin being generated galore in the heads of people, the trust hormone really. So this is, beautiful, which is show your emotions. Never mind if you're the leader, if you're not feeling good, if you're feeling sad, and if you're feeling glad, and if you're feeling mad, is it all right to be able to actually come with who you really are, so people are dealing with the real you. You spoke about nurturing, what I loved about what you said on nurturing was that you want to nurture other people's careers, and you believe people who are senior than you within the organization ought to be interested in nurturing yours. So it's the virtuous teaching cycle, really, and nurturing cycle of leadership that you're really talking about. And then you spoke about being humble, especially when you're successful. I think this is so invaluable to remain grounded, especially when things are going good. And I loved especially what you said about making a mistake and being fearless when you've gone wrong. And I think this is incredible insight, really, which is to become especially fearless when things go wrong, and especially courageous when you've made a mistake. I think you can really transform an organization if more people embed these principles. They're really, really invaluable. And what a treasure trove in just a few minutes. And thank you for doing this. This is precisely why we've created this platform called In the Lead. Yeah, because each of these are gems, really, and they're available so easily to people who are listening to the show. So thank you ever so much, Pankajam. I'm going to, with that, feel encouraged to go on to the next question. I want to, at this point, bring up the topic of compassion in our conversation. And, especially the last 18 odd months, with everything that the organizations have experienced, literally across the world, many organizations have struggled with basically the compassion dilemma or the empathy dilemma. And what I see is that either there is a tendency to swing the pendulum towards more compassion than accountability, or sometimes there is a huge struggle between how do you still remain accountable even as you want to really be compassionate, but you still have the compulsions of business. So I want to, I kind of coined this phrase called soldiering on, which is notwithstanding what's going on, still having the capacity to be able to get people to rally around the goals of the organization and remain focused on what we still need to achieve in the business, notwithstanding what's going on around. And which does not mean that we disregard what's going on around. We have deep compassion to be able to, and these have been incredible times for most leaders to be able to revisit the drawing board on their own leadership styles. And I know many individuals, many leaders have admitted to the fact that they've actually sort of changed as leaders. They've changed their styles of leadership. They've learned how to lead in a different, new, more compassionate. I want your response on compassion during these times and this tendency of the pendulum to either swing in the direction of compassion at the cost of accountability, or to swing in the direction of accountability at the cost of compassion. So tell us a bit about that.
Compassion must come naturally to leaders during this unprecedented times. So we have our team members who have lost family, close family, neighbors, friends. I myself lost family. So if there is no compassion, then you have to write yourself out that you're not a leader. So it has to come naturally. And what I have seen is when we show empathy and when we work on the well being of our employees, there is always accountability on the employees to come back and serve the customer. There is no way, we are all humans, and humans will always think of what did I get? I got empathy from the organization, now I'm healthy. I have to put back my worries and start performing better and show more accountability in the organization. In my organization, I have seen only that behavior where there has been a balance of empathy, there has been a lot of focus on well being, and the employees coming back with more force to really support the back. And there could be exceptions, but many a times we make exceptions the rule. There could be exceptions where there could be some people who are not like that, but definitely the majority or the far majority are accountable people who will come back from their bad times and really make a difference in the organization. And I think empassion and empathy and compassion is absolutely the leadership style of today. Leadership style that is needed for the society and for employees in the current environment. I don't have any doubt in my mind on that. I myself need compassion, as a leader. So when
Yeah.
every phone call that came to me from my parent organization, CBA in Australia, gave me comfort. That doesn't mean that I will take leave and sit at home. That is not what I will do, and that's not what the team will do in India. I'm very, very confident about that.
Right. I think with that, Pankajam, we come to the close of this wonderful conversation. I could really talk to you forever because you have such incredible gems in your responses. I'm going to end by asking you a question which is very close to heart, and I'm really using this opportunity to be able to use your wisdom and your immense experience, and the fact that you're so seasoned across large organizations that you've led, to be able to get your response around social responsibility. And when I ask this question, I really mean what can a leader do to be able to role model the fact that business organizations have a responsibility towards society. And what I mean by that is that most individuals within organizations believe that social responsibility is something that organizations do as part of CSR. I don't have to do anything about this individually. The rest, somebody else is going to take care of it. And we've all created these somebody else's responsible philosophy, especially when it comes to the society. So what is the opportunity on being able to shape society differently if you're part of a business organization, and how can leaders role model making that difference to society, or demonstrating the power you have as a business organization to be able to shape a society which is, let's say, equal, has lesser evils, is more fairer, is balanced. And to use your word, and you kind of, I think, almost Freudian slip, you actually coined a word in your previous response where you said empassion, which is really empathy and compassion. So how do you kind of role model this within an organization, this responsibility towards the society and the sheer power we have, notwithstanding whether we work for a business organizations, to indeed shape society differently?
This corporate social responsibility is something that is talked of a lot in the social circles. And I think, the advantage that the government of India has given as a guidance really helps us to allocate funds for the causes that we care for. So again, this is a business imperative and a leadership imperative. There are two ways of doing it. One is just comply with the guidance and with the policy and say that we have complied by the policy and just give it off to the Prime Minister's relief fund. By that, you are really complying with the policy. The other way is to involve our organization, volunteer, have a look at what we can do in the society, and be able to really fund those programs. I really believe in the latter, because then we also learn about what's happening in the society. We get lot of insights into things that we can do to improve the well-being of not only us but of the society. And if there are causes that we really are passionate about, for example, I'm passionate about educating children. I'm very passionate about sustainability, and I think the organization will be passionate about some causes, and work for it. And if we really invest in those causes, and if we as a group contribute more than the fund that we need to give out, then there is an impact to the society. And if organizations can really, form groups, which has never happened, I've tried that earlier, where 10 organizations come together and work on one program, then the impact and the scale that we can create is more. So I think the call to leaders from me is to say that let's combine hands and bring out an impact to what we want to do in Karnataka, for example, where CBA is located. But
Yeah.
if we do that, I think the impact is more, and employees have to be involved. Employees have to make the decision as to where we will really fund for corporate social responsibility. Then it will be another movement in the organization to make a difference to the society. That's what I believe as a leader.
You've had such an illustrious career, and you've been managing director of two large organizations. Tell me, what advice would you give the younger Pankajam?
Aspire.
Okay.
Do not think that humility and arrogance go together. Humility and confidence goes together. So if you're
Lovely.
confident, does not mean you're humble. And I think, again, I brought in that irrational aspiration. I want to tell women to aspire irrationally, because there are a lot of biases. And if we wait for the biases to disappear, we will be out of job by then. I want women to think for yourself, to live for yourself a lot, even though you're part of a society that expects a lot from you. But if you wish to have a career and become the managing director of an organization, you must do it. So you have to build a support system that will help you in the things that you can get from the support system. You have to focus on what you think is important for your family, as well as what you think is important for you. You don't need to be worried about what your neighbor tells. I don't worry about that, to be honest. I worry about what is important for me. And I think that's my advice to young women. Aspire and work very closely with the organization to grow, and make your objective very clear. If you want to become the managing director, say that. I want to end with a story. So there was a girl who was working with me. Her name is Meenakshi Iyer. A couple of years back, there was a question posed to her, what is your future role? And she was constantly looking at me. And I told Meenakshi, if you want to become the managing director of this organization, you can say that. When you become the managing director, I may not be there. I may be in another job. So you're not taking away my job. You're taking
Right.
the position of managing director of this organization. And I'm so pleasantly pleased to tell you that she became the managing director in Standard Chartered Bank. So what I'm saying is, you should not be Pankajams, you need not be, but you can be Meenakshis and aspire for what you want to achieve. And it goes
Lovely.
on.
Yeah, so well said. Thank you so much, Pankajam. This has been such a brilliant conversation and so invigorating. I feel so inspired. I'm sure our audiences feel the same way. Ladies and gentlemen, Pankajam Sridevi, the Managing Director of Commonwealth Bank of Australia in India. Thank you ever so much, Pankajam, for agreeing to do this for us. I know this has been extremely inspiring for our audiences. Thank you very, very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Sujaya. I really appreciate it. And thanks for all the wonderful questions.
All right, everybody, thank you for watching this episode of In the Lead. Do remember to like, share, and subscribe this episode of In the Lead. Thank you for watching.